welcome to the spring meeting of the Baltimore Regional Safety Subcommittee. I am Cindy Birch here at the Baltimore Metropolitan Council, and I'm happy to share that Ms. Debbie Jennings over at the Chesapeake Region Safety Council has graciously agreed to serve as a chair of this committee going forward for the next year to two, however long I can rope her into staying. So we all know Debbie, we all love Debbie. Please help me welcome her to this new role, and I will turn it over to her to go ahead and get this meeting started.
Good morning, everybody. It's nice to be here. Does anybody have any changes or questions regarding the February 2023 minutes? They were sent out with the meeting announcement messages. And with no changes, are there any objections to the minutes? Hearing none, they are accepted. Next, we'll hear about another project within the region and a committee that may have some potentially new safety partners. It's Casey Thomas. Ms. Casey Thomas is going to speak about the Urban Areas Safety Initiative and the importance of public information.
Hey, Debbie, Cindy, hang on one second. Looks like we're having some trouble with the screen. It's not completely there.
It's not completely there. Oh.
We see half the agenda, half of
there
it.
You go.
Now it's full. Okay, but it's been going back and forth.
I don't know. Oh, because okay, but it's okay now.
Yes.
I can see the full. Yeah, I can see the full page of the agenda now. So let's see if that continues. Okay.
I was looking on the participant list. It looks like Casey hasn't joined us yet. So she is going to join us before the end of the meeting, though. So, but Breck is here. Debbie, if you don't mind, we'll move this Urban Areas Security Initiative to later.
Yep. So hi, Breck. Breck Jeffers from the Federal Highway Administration is a frequent visitor and has some information to share. Breck, are you ready?
I believe I am. Let me work on sharing my screen. Okay, let's see. All right, do you guys see a website for Safe Streets and Roads for All?
Yes.
Okay, all right, good. Yeah, as you said, I'm a frequent participant and, presenter at these meetings. And I believe probably around this time last year, I, talked about SS4A, the initial grant program. And I just wanted to give everyone an update and let them know that the notice for funding opportunity for FY23 is currently open, but it closes July 10th. So if you are interested in applying for a SS4A grant, be sure to do it by July 10th. There are three types of grants that you can apply for. Well, first, the folks that are eligible, it's this grant program is for non-state entities, so counties, cities, towns, transit agencies that are a political subdivision of a state are eligible, NPOs, and federally recognized tribal governments. I do not believe we have any of those, federally recognized tribal governments in Maryland. There are three types of grants: planning and demonstration grants and implementation grants. I believe last year in Maryland, there was a total of 9. There were 6 action plan grants and 3 implementation grants. And the action plans can be 2 types. The action plan and then the supplemental action plan, which, provides funding to enhance, existing action plans. So if you are interested, please be sure to get your applications in by July 10th. Cindy, can you just share the website, or maybe I can put it in the chat, because on the website there's more information, FAQs, and also recordings of webinars that provide more information. And I can also give some high level, information about the SS4A program. One of the things that, I have to be sure of is that this is a competitive grant program where, jurisdictions from all over the country apply and compete for these grants. So, I can't give you any, tips that would put you at a greater advantage than other people. So, but I can, answer some high level questions. And also there is a link on this website where you can ask specific questions to the team in headquarters. And also, let me stop sharing my screen. Sorry for the delay. I'm primarily a Teams person, so trying to find my way around. Here to stop sharing my screen.
There should be, I think, along the top, kind of a taskbar you see, and it'll have a stop share option.
Oh.
Or I might be able to stop it for you.
Yes, if you could stop it, because I think I'm at the point where, oh, wait a minute, let me see something. No.
Mine's at the bottom, Breck. I don't know if yours would be too.
Since I'm sharing it kind of made it changed my display where all I see are people, but none of the control. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Let me
I just stopped it for you.
Okay, thank you. And before I finish up, there's actually we've gotten the okay to make an announcement, or our headquarters office has made the announcement, so I can discuss this with you guys. This morning there was an announcement of there was more than $52 million in advanced technology grants awarded to improve safety and reduce travel times. And Maryland was the recipient of a little less than 12 million. So it's $11,935,000. And this money's going to go to MDOT to deploy new technologies and traffic sensors for traffic prediction, signal timing, curve warning, and other messaging to improve safety and mobility along 113 miles of US 50. So, that's an announcement that, I guess we got to go ahead to share. And yes, good news for Maryland.
That's great news for Maryland. Do you have any other updates?
No, that's it.
So,
and also too, I know I share a lot of training opportunities and other information with Cindy, and I'm pretty sure she forwards, all of that stuff to you guys. And I will be sure in the future to continue, sharing all of the training opportunities and other information about safety from Federal Highway that comes out.
So thank you, Breck. I want to send a really, I guess it's more of a personal appreciation, although I'm sure everybody else feels the same way. Anytime, we need information, you're always so prompt and so clear giving us, exactly what information we need that can help people move forward with their local plans and anything new that's coming down the road. So literally, I just want to thank you for that update. As always, it was very informative.
All right.
On the next agenda item, number 5, is the state safety updates. And first up are Anna Lewandowski and Ms. Cynthia Spriggs from the Maryland Highway Safety Office.
Hi, everyone. Thanks, Debbie. Thanks, Cindy. Sorry, I am in Rhode Island right now for the AMVA Region 1 conference, so I am in my hotel room. But I will give a quick update from MHSO over the past couple of months. So starting out in April, we held our annual safety summit. We had about 300 attendees at the Maritime on April 12th. And during that event, we launched our new crash data dashboard. I'm going to share my screen really quick. And I do see Doug is on here. So he is going, if there's anything I missed, Doug, feel free to jump in. But I just want to give everyone an overview of how this dashboard looks and how to get to there on our website, and just a general overview. So from our homepage of zrdusmd.gov, under resources and crash data, you will see our disclaimer, but this is the normal crash data page that you have all seen, hopefully over the last 2 years or so. Some of this has been simplified, but right here at the top, you will see crash data dashboard. If you click there, you get another disclaimer, and then you will see the dashboard again. I am on my laptop, so it's going to be a little small for you, and I'm sorry about that. But this is the overview of the dashboard. You'll see it has a heat map, and then you will also see a temporal date and day of the week, an hourly chart at the bottom. At the top, you are able to navigate it by year. We have the last since 2016 on here, but you can select multiple years or just 1 year. Mine is selected to 2023 right now. You can then select specific months and then specific jurisdictions. And as you go across the top, you will see different road users and the number of fatalities. It is important to note that these are only fatalities. It does not include crashes or serious injuries. That is on our list to develop in future years. And at the second line, these are common or contributing factors to these crashes. So speed related, aggressive driving, distracted, impairment, and unrestrained occupants. If you hover over these boxes, you will get some additional information, including crash reports and which ones are open investigation and closed. Obviously, we are still in 2023, so there are a lot more open investigations. But if you were to go back to 2020, there's going to be no open investigations, or 2021 as well. As you continue to click through here, you'll see emphasis areas, interest areas, and year to date. I'll just click through. I think the biggest thing that we wanted to emphasize with everyone on this call and just in Maryland, this dashboard has a lot of possibilities for everyone to go explore. So just go on it, play with it. Click different items. You'll be able to have different pieces to it show up when you click different areas. So go around, play with it. And if there's any feedback you guys have, please feel free to send it over to myself or Doug. We're happy to answer any questions about the dashboard or help integrate and make changes as feasible. So that is the world's quickest overview of this dashboard, but I do want to point out at the top here, we have a definitions document. I'm sure many people on here might know some of these definitions, but they are very particular about what they include and what they don't include. So we do have this noted on here for all the definitions. It is downloadable. We also have an FAQ that might answer some additional questions, such as, why there's so many open investigations, as well as why do the numbers change so much, and all those different questions that people might have. And then the demo video here is the video from our Highway Safety Summit. Includes a voiceover from Administrator Nizer and gives a better overview of what I just did. But this is our dashboard. Doug, is there anything you wanted to add before I move on to other updates?
No, I think you covered it pretty good. Like you said, if anybody has any questions, feel free to follow up with me or Anna. You know, we purposely created those definitions in the FAQs, which I think are answering a lot of people's questions. This is a very sufficient exercise that everybody's been able to just, utilize for their own purposes.
So
Anything else to add?
That was it for the dashboard. And then just in general for the Highway Safety Office, we are busy creating some additional content. In the coming months, we will be creating a new move over video that will help depict, we'll be working with the State Highway Administration to really show real life footage of how close vehicles are when they're passing a stopped vehicle on the side of the road. So we're really excited for that video and trying to get people to move over for all passenger vehicles, not just emergency vehicles, but as you guys all see on the road, people aren't moving over for emergency vehicles anyway as well. So that is coming in the next few months. And then, as probably everyone knows, cannabis legalization, recreational legalization is coming quickly on July 1st. So the Highway Safety Office is working on additional creative that will reflect cannabis impairment. We are currently running focus group testing on some of the creative that we have come up with so far. I think something interesting from all of that, the last time we did focus group testing and we did some audience analysis, is that the threat of law enforcement, the thought of tickets, the threat of all of that was not a factor, and they were not interested in seeing that in our campaigns. However, for these focus groups about cannabis impairment, that has overall been the number one. That's been their favorite graphics for almost every single focus group that we've run, and really emphasizing the fact that driving impaired by cannabis will lead to a DUI. So it's been very interesting for us to sit in on these focus groups and hear some of the information about it. And we'll be launching that creative in the next couple of weeks. It is rapidly approaching, but if there's any questions about it, we are happy to answer that. And I will throw it over to Cynthia Spriggs. Thanks, everyone.
Morning, everybody. I just wanted to pop in, say hello, and just talk about one of our newer partners. So as most of you know, we partnered with MICA over the last couple of years, and MICA's, all their wonderful things that were developed out of that have continued on with a couple of new partners. So one of them is Bike Collective. They are focused in Baltimore City. They work with our youth and really focusing on empowering our youth and educating, not just on bicycles, but really everything. But their main focus, obviously Bike Collective, is focusing on the youth and getting them the knowledge and skills to learn how to not only ride and the proper riding, but also keeping the maintenance up. They also hire youth, which is wonderful because you have your youth teaching youth. One of the youth that they have came to our summit. So if anybody was able to talk to Bike Collective at our summit, there was a youth partner there who was very impressed at how large the transportation system is and how many people truly have a passion to make everything safer for all. They also host events. One of their events coming up will be in Baltimore City. Coming up, it's called Crank Masters. It's actually a bike safety summit. They're going to have a lot of information on safety stuff, but not only the bicycles. They're looking at safety in general to create a safe space for them to talk about many different things. And so that's happening at the end of June. And the other partner through MICA was the Neighborhood Design Center. And they have continued the Made You Look art in the right of way. They are hosting their Shareback coming up in the beginning of June. If anybody is interested on seeing how that's going or wants more information on the ShareBack, I'm happy to share information on both. I'm going to put both agencies' websites in the chat. If anybody has any questions, I'm happy to answer or put you in touch with either of the agencies. That's all I have this morning. Oh, I'll throw in one key other thing. The pedestrian bicycle emphasis area team will be meeting in June at BMC in person. We will have a hybrid. If you're interested and don't receive my emails, please reach out to me. We'd love to have you.
Thank you both. Very much so with valuable information. Next up is Dr. Jay Zhang from the State Highway Administration. Jay?
Hi, thank you, Cindy. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Awesome. In the next 10, 15 minutes, Molly and I are going to make a short presentation on both VIU safety assessment and our PSAP. Let me share my screen. Can you see my screen?
Cindy, can you hear him? There we go.
Yes, and we can see your screen.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Again, we're going to present Maryland's variable road user safety assessment and pedestrian safety action plan. In this presentation, let me see. My computer is kind of slow. Yeah, now we got the next page. Sorry about that. We're going to introduce the purpose of this variable road user or VRU safety assessment and what's the relationship and overlap with our pedestrian safety action plan or PSAP, and how can we move forward. Most importantly, we will need your support to perform the stakeholder consultation, which is required as part of this assessment. And the definition of VRU is the same as non-motorists, mostly pedestrians and cyclists with scooters, wheelchair users, like that. And per State Highway's definition, no motorcyclists are considered as VRU, which is different from NHTSA's definition. And as we know, the non-motorists, they are very vulnerable to traffic impacts. You usually get serious injured, even killed, with really small crashes compared with motorists. That's one why, based on IIJA or BIL, passed about 2 years ago, all 50 states in plus DC are required to have a VRU safety assessment. And we are required to get it published by November 15th, 2023. And there's no option to delay that. So you can see our schedule is very tight, and we do have some very ambitious, consultation works to be finished in the next several months, if not weeks. And fortunately for Maryland situation, we have our pedestrian safety action plan or PSAP almost finished. And we compared side by side with PSAP as with the Federal Highway guidelines on VRU safety assessment. We found it's about 80% overlapped. So we use almost the same methodology, the same data, and found very similar results. So we can keep consistent with our debate documents, and also we can save us some time to develop this VRU safety assessment per Federal's requirement. The next several pages, Molly, we're going to discuss the PSAP.
Good morning, everyone. This is Molly Porter, bicycle and pedestrian planner with the State Highway Administration, and I'm going to turn it over to Brian Lang to go through these slides, who is also a member of the PSAP team. So, Brian?
Yeah, thank you, Jay. Thank you, Molly. Appreciate being here. I apologize. I would join by video. I'm actually down at a career fair for MDQI down in Baltimore, so our internet's a little bit limited. But if I cut out here, please bear with me. But yeah, I want to talk through the pedestrian safety action plan. you know, if you all hadn't heard the big news, we're very excited that about 2 weeks ago, we released SHA's initial pedestrian safety action plan to the public. This is something that I think we're all very excited about. It's, you know, this has been a multi-year effort involving a number of different agencies, a number of different offices, you know, really truly a team effort by all of MDOT. So it's definitely something we're very proud of, and you know, I hope you all have an opportunity to take a look. I think if there's a chance, maybe we'll try to post a link to our website here in the chat, so you all can take a look. It's a really well done document. It's sort of a, you know, it's a short read. It's only about 25 pages long, actually probably less than 25 pages. Very nicely laid out. You know, the document itself provides a very nice overview and narrative of the whole process that we used as part of our assessment and prioritization efforts. And then the website sort of tag teams with the document to add some additional, you know, detailed information, some additional resources and things like that. So yeah, certainly if you have a chance, please give it a look. It's really something that I think we're all very pleased with, and you know, hope it will be, and I think it's already heading in that direction of being a really powerful tool towards implementing safety measures that will help a lot of people across the state. So yeah, and you know, I think we all recognize too that when it comes to these safety enhancements, you know, there's no magic wand. I think this is going to be, you know, it's going to take a lot of efforts. There's going to have to be a lot of updates, you know, continuous improvements. You know, this coordination with the VRU assessment is a perfect example. We can always build on this. There's always going to be new data to be used. And, you know, certainly we want to hear from you all and get your feedback on, you know, what we've done so far, maybe ways we can improve, things that, you know, might help us in the future. So there's a contact email there on the website that if you have a chance, please shoot us a note. You could always contact Molly or myself too with anything you might have. So yeah, we're excited about this. So now with that, let me dive into the overview. Since I did my shameless plug there, I'll now continue on. If you could advance the slide for me, Jay. Thank you. So here is, you know, basically sort of our chain of milestones, just to kind of highlight the steps that we took. You know, I mentioned that this has been sort of a multi-year effort, and certainly a multi-agency effort, and even beginning with step one. When we started our data collection analysis, you know, we immediately hit the ground with the coordination between, you know, obviously RIPD, you know, SHA's Regional and Intermodal Planning Division was working closely with SHA's Office of Traffic Safety, and we were working closely with MVA's Highway Safety Office, and even the Secretary's Office and their bicycle and pedestrian folks there. So really, truly, you know, from day one, we started that coordination in terms of gathering as much, you know, high quality data as we could at that time, you know, compiling it, then assessing it, and, you know, preparing a solid foundation for, you know, the ultimate plan. So yeah, we did our data collection, then moved into the assessment of existing conditions. Now, existing conditions we kind of already had established. You know, the PSAP is tied closely to the context-driven program, which is tied closely to Vision Zero. So we kind of had a few, you know, footers in place already to help us build this pedestrian safety action plan. And the context guide helped immensely with the existing conditions assessment. You know, we had already sort of gone through that process of identifying and sort of categorizing, you know, different geographical areas of the state. So we had a good sense of what the existing conditions were like, you know, statewide there at the beginning, thanks to the work that had been done previously. So that's it. So we've got our data, we've got our existing conditions, then we're getting into our areas of need. And this is really like a critical point for us. Developing the areas of need was really something that helped immensely with our development of the prioritization and identifying, you know, where should we focus our attention, which state corridors, you know, have the most needs, have, you know, the most opportunity to assess those communities that really need help the most. Where are our most vulnerable users? So we developed these areas of needs. We'll get into some more detail of that on the next slide, but yeah, across the state, we've got these pockets where we focused our attention on identifying the greatest needs. From there, we then went to prioritization. Prioritization is sort of a two-step process. First, we had to establish what was our prioritization ranking process going to be. We had to establish that. What were the elements that were going to contribute to that? Then it was actually going through and saying, okay, now that we're doing this, what are these scores? What is the ranking process going to be like? And what are the corridors going to be? And we came up with that list. And then ultimately it was, okay, now that we see our priorities, what do we do next? How do we coordinate with our designers, our maintenance crews, our district offices? How do we get them the resources they need to now implement, safety countermeasures, make improvements to these priority corridors? And that's sort of what led us to ultimately finalizing our plan. And now we can move on to next steps in assisting our districts with some implementation efforts, taking this plan and actually making these things come to fruition, so lots still to happen. It's a major milestone getting this document out there, but still a lot more left to do. Let's go to the next slide and talk some more about areas of need. I mentioned how critical it was for us to establish, where exactly these needs were located. And, certainly, a major part of that was identifying, crash density, crash severity, identifying those pockets where we're seeing, significant occurrences of crashes. But there was other important things too. Public input was a major one. At the same time that we were combing through all this data, we knew that we wanted to hear from these communities. So we did a pretty robust outreach and engagement program where we hosted a number of public meetings, and we also promoted an online commenting tool where we encouraged folks to provide their feedback, just really tell us where do they feel like they feel less safe when they're out bicycling, walking, what have you. Things, nobody knows their community better than the people who live and work and travel through there. So we made sure to capture that information. So yeah, public input, major factor, and equity too. We wanted to make sure that, like I'd mentioned before, identifying some of these vulnerable and potentially underserved communities, where are the folks that could really benefit most from pedestrian and bicycle safety enhancements, and really the accessibility that goes with that. We want to make sure that we're giving people the opportunity who may be in situations where they are walking and biking a little more often than using motor vehicles. If they're using transit and they have to do their last mile effort, we want to make sure that we're capturing those in our needs assessment. And of course, last but not least, the short trip opportunity areas. This is that area where we really coordinated closely with the Secretary's office, making sure that we were, capturing those STOAs that they had previously identified and working those into our areas of need. So yeah, once we had, assessed all of these different elements, we sort of layered them out to create a statewide map of areas of need. So I think if we go to the next slide, you can sort of see where we have these, a geographic spread. The purple areas you can see here on the map, these were all of the collective areas of needs that we identified. Once we started layering all this data together, these ultimately are the pockets where we said, okay, for any state facility that falls within these areas of need, that's where we're going to focus our attention. This is where we're going to select our priority corridors from. Of course, one thing I want to point out, obviously you do see some purple there in Baltimore City. I think, it goes without saying, Baltimore City certainly is a location where, it needs a lot of attention. For the purposes of the PSAP, we did only focus on state routes and state facilities. The city we did not touch as part of this effort, but that's where, as Dr. J is going to explain later, the VRU study and assessment is going to pick up sort of where we left off and get into more of the local facilities. So yeah, so this is the areas of need. Really helped us to, like I said, focus in on those corridors that really needed the most attention. Let's go to the next slide. And I mentioned the priority process and how we identified, our priority corridors. We knew the areas of need. We know that we've got corridors in those areas of need, but now how do we really focus in on those corridors that need the most help? And here you can see the list. I mean, a lot of different factors went into the selection process. Obviously crashes is a major item, but we also wanted to factor in, like I said, transit walk sheds, bus stop density. The SHA bike spine was another. Schools was another big one. Where do we really think we're going to see a lot of activity with bicyclists and pedestrians? And again, the equity index score, I think that was something that really helped us try to identify, where are some of these households that may have one or no, limited access to motor vehicles. Where could they be using more transit and having to walk or bicycle to those transit stops. So certainly that was a big factor too. And again, the Highway Safety Improvement Program also was a big factor in this, trying to understand, where their attention is already focused. We wanted to make sure we were also capturing those corridors. Next slide. So finally, here you can see this is what we ultimately came out with in terms of our priority corridors. The corridors in red, which I know might be hard to see on your screen, but if you do go to our website, you'll be able to access an interactive map where you can zoom in and out and get a much better feel for where these corridors are located. But the corridors in red represent those that scored within the top 15%. So those are sort of our top target corridors in terms of this sort of initial wave of looking for improvement opportunities and implementation of countermeasures. So yeah, those red corridors are sort of where we are at the moment. This is where we're focusing our attention. As I mentioned, we're currently in that process of working with our district offices to really select those corridors they're going to focus on, work towards helping them through the procurement process, through the, feasibility work of gathering and additional data, helping them do their studies so that they can quickly get some improvements implemented. So yeah, that's where we are in terms of the PSAP. And I think I'll now turn it back over to Jay to talk about how the PSAP and the VRU are still tied together.
Thank you, Brian and Molly, and congratulations again to have this PSAP published. Seriously, PSAP is a great product, and we feel extremely lucky to have this great product to be piggyback with. As I mentioned earlier, we have our VRU safety assessment is about 80% overlapped with our great product of PSAP, but there's still about 20% difference. The first part mainly came from the period of crash analysis years. When we developed PSAP about 3 years ago, we chose to have 4 years of crash data, which is quite reasonable because normally we take about 3 to 5 years of crash data. But however, last November, we received Federal Highway guidelines, which required at least 5 years of crash data for the analysis. So we chose to add 2 more years on the basis of PSAP. So our VRU safety assessment will cover 6 years from 2016 to 2021 of crash data for analysis. Because of the 2 more years of crash data, you can see there's some minor difference on the final remarks. And on the bottom right side, bottom left side is the PSAP. For example, area updates on the left side is from our VRU assessment. It's mostly consistent, but there are a little bit more fatal crashes, a little bit more other labor crashes. Therefore, we have a little bit bigger area updates in the VRU assessment. So we're working very closely with Molly and Brian to make sure that our corridors are as consistent as possible with each other. But if there's any difference, we are going to make sure that those differences came from one of those reasons, such as the different number of years of crash data we use. And second difference, as Brian mentioned already, PSAP is a state highway product, reasonably only covered roadways maintained by state highway. But VRU assessment is a federal required analysis where we should cover statewide roadways. with all levels, from federal to state to county and to municipal levels. All public roadways should be covered. Therefore, we'll add more corridors as our high-risk areas, especially the city of Baltimore, as Brian mentioned before, in PSAP, it's not covered. But we know a lot of pedestrian cyclist crashes occurred in the city. So in our value assessment, we have many new corridors identified for further documentation. The final difference between PSAP and value assessment is the requirement on consultations. Federal Highway has very clear requirement that all local agency, NPO, planning office, that are presenting any identified corridor should be consulted with two things. First, what's your concern of the safety on VRUs? Second, do you have any idea for improvements? We are required to document all those two things. And however, there's no guarantee for funding or follow-up implementations of those projects. Where in this assessment, we are only required to document your proposals. And our plan for this consultation is to have it in two parts. First, we're going to schedule 5 regional meetings in July of this year. And it depends on the districts of State Highway. One meeting in East Zone, District 1 and District 2, one meeting for District 3, one meeting for District 4 and City of Baltimore, one meeting for District 5, and one meeting for District 6 and 7. And we are going to send out the meeting invitations to you as local agencies, NPOs, as well as advocacy groups like pedestrian groups, bicycle groups. We're going to identify most of those stakeholders. But if you didn't receive any invitation from us by early July, please don't hesitate to contact me. We'll be more than happy to get you included. First, to the meetings. Second, we are going to have an online survey with all those questions I just mentioned. So you can take the survey before the meeting, during the meeting, and after meeting. But however, there's a close-out date for this survey because the whole value assessment is due again by November 15th. We need to be approved by our governor's office as well as by Federal Highway. So we have to close out the survey in late July or early August. Sorry about that. Let me briefly show how this survey will be looked like. Currently, it's still in developing by our Office of IT, but the layout will be like this, draft here, and I show on screen. So first, we introduce the background, the needs, just as I presented earlier in this meeting. Then you will see a statewide map with the corridors, very similar to the PSAP like Brian just presented. We highlight the identified corridors for your comments. So you can click any of the corridors one by one for different comments. For example, you click one corridor with like MD 528. So we pop up a next window, we have 3 questions. First, what's your primary concern on pedestrian safety? Second, what's the primary concern on cyclist safety? Third, what's your suggestions for improvements? And we repeat this whole 3 questions again and again for different corridors. I mean, you can choose any of your interested or presenting corridors as much as possible, and then finish the survey. In the last, we need your contact information, and that's it. Very simple, very straightforward. But your inputs will be extremely important for this whole safety assessment. And we, even though we can't guarantee any follow-ups to implementation, but there will be some opportunities. For example, HDEP local funds is always available. So if this may be a starting point for you to prepare for the application of HDEP funding. So again, I think I mentioned our schedule already, and this survey will be probably available, sent out to you with a link and to a web page in late June or early July. Then in July, we're going to have virtual meetings. And in August, we're going to summarize what we received from you. And in September, October, we'll get approval and revising for our higher management. And by November 15th, we're going to publish this document. Will be available on the internet for everybody. And so thank you very much. And do you have any questions?
We did have some questions come into the chat. Doug, I can read your question, or if you want to unmute and discuss it.
Yeah, I can. You can hear me, Cindy?
Yep, loud and clear.
Yeah, it was kind of going back to what Brian was presenting on as far as the criteria for the crashes, and just verifying that 1 mile road segments were selected because you're looking only at state maintained roads, which are mostly, if not all, arterials. I'm just thinking, like, when we've done analysis in the past for non-motorists, it's kind of a large area to really look at, whereas when you kind of shorten it to at least maybe half a mile or even a quarter of a mile, that gives you a better sense of high crash locations, especially around intersections and all. So just kind of asking about why 1 mile was selected.
Yeah, I certainly appreciate the question, and then appreciate you also providing the answer. Exactly, like dealing with the nature of state. I appreciate that. And I also would note that it does say per mile above average, and that should say above district average. So it was compared on a district basis, but exactly dealing with the nature of state roads being arterials. That's why the mile length was chosen.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Doug. And I had one other question. How are these efforts coinciding or correlating with the infrastructure reviews for non-motorist fatal crashes that MDOT-SHA is now posting online?
Yeah, I mean, that's a very good question, first of all. We have recently had many new requirements on VRUs on a lot of whether from federal level or from state level. Right. And VRU assessment is required by Federal Highway, so we want to follow exactly the guidance the Federal Highway has been provided to us. And we understand that state has also very new requirements on the fatal reviews of pedestrians and bicycle crashes. And we are doing that together, and we are trying our best to talk with each other. For example, the crash data will be shared. And if there's one fatal crash occurred, I mean, we'll look at history crash data, which is like the same as we use for this VRU assessment. And I mean, infrastructure definitely. I mean, when they look at to the fatal reviews or fatal reviews, we look at very similar things. Like I'm just showing on the screen, right? I mean, how they pass crash data, CSLs, what's the latest bus stops, schools, any short trip distance opportunities, that kind of thing. So it's not exactly the same, but they overlap a lot.
Great. Thank you, Jay.
No problem.
So thank you, Jay, Molly, and Brian. I really appreciate that thorough presentation.
Can I ask one question, a public question, or is that not appropriate right now?
No, go ahead.
With regards to the VRU survey that I saw Jay scroll through, it seemed to be mostly focused on questions about, what I can't remember exactly, but it was something like, what improvements would you like to see along this segment and this segment and this segment? And I find that, like, don't we know what walkers and bikers really want? I mean, we're looking for separation from traffic, slower traffic. crosswalks and bike lanes and buffers and everything. So I don't know exactly what we expect or what you're expecting to see from these questions that are new or really vary between each corridor, especially given that as Doug brought up, I mean, they're all pretty much very similar arterials. So I'm just a little skeptical, but I'd like to hear, what the expectations are with what new information are you really expecting to get from these questions?
I can guarantee we get many new information. As you mentioned, probably those corridors has been there for many years. I mean, as your local agency until noticed that in those locations, many questions maybe happen. Every year. So, and those corridors may have been studied already. So you're right. I mean, when let me ask for the consultation on the safety concerns and the potential improvements. You don't have to create many new data for us, but still, to communicate, to understand each other, to document those things will be very, very good step, and it's maybe a starting point. So everybody will be on the same page. We understand what's in each other's mind. So maybe just by doing that, we can create something maybe not have been noticed before. Maybe didn't work in the past for some reason, but now everybody comes together, state, local level, even community level, groups come together. We can find out the reason why it didn't work in the past, but maybe with new process, new program, new technologies, we can find some new solution. You never know, right? What's been started in the past doesn't give a reason. Don't keep on studying those locations. We definitely want to find some solution and improve our traffic safety. Did that answer your question?
Yep. Thank you. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Are there any other questions? Okay, moving on, we're going to cover the local strategic highway safety plans, and Cindy Birch will give a brief update on those efforts by the counties and a few localities, I believe.
Yes, once I unmute myself. And really just a few updates coming. It's been a busy time for, it's been a busy time with the Safe Streets and Roads for All applications that Breck mentioned before. So the teams have been meeting throughout our region, and there's been a lot going on. But, and if anybody on the phone wants to share anything, I will say we are wrapping up the Safe System Approach project we've been doing here at BMC. So those workshops have been completed, and we're going to have, by the next meeting, we'll have some case studies, best practices, and guidelines for incorporating Safe System Approach in with those local planning efforts. So using some of the new data that are being made available, looking at different equity and public involvement components, really trying to provide some resources to help everyone out, especially as they submit proposals for these SS4A grant funds, and also subsequently, as Jay mentioned, the HSIP funds in the state and different ideas. With everything going on, of note, Howard County, I mentioned before, has a local law to do similar infrastructure reviews to the state, but on their county roads. So that is up and running. That's been in place since January 1st, and those reports are coming along very well. Harford County continues to meet for their traffic safety advisory board, and they're incorporating, I believe I mentioned last time, a very data-driven approach using access to the state police crash data warehouse that their barrack commander brings to the meeting, so they can do live customizable analysis of it. So being in the state police access to that warehouse gives a lot more variability. We are also working here at BMC to develop some crash data dashboards to help support everyone in the region with their local planning as well as other ideas. So you guys will be seeing some messages coming from me in the not too distant future, asking you to review some things and give some feedback. Also going on with the local plans, like I said, a lot of folks putting in for Safe Streets and Roads for All. And those of you on the call, a group at Morgan State University has shown interest in partnering on any of those projects. If anyone is interested in looking for demonstration grants or want their support from their engineering department, they are a part of the current project in Baltimore City. And I'm going to share with everyone some examples of different projects they can do to help support you. They do have engineering and planning expertise, as well as distracted driving simulators and other technology capabilities that might fall into some of those demonstration grant ideas. Is there anyone on the call that would like to say anything about their local plans or local teams?
Thank you, Cindy. Are there questions for any of our speakers? Okay, we will now move on to
one
go ahead.
question. Cindy was saying that there's a county infrastructure review law. Was that Howard or Harford?
Howard County.
Howard. Okay, thank you.
Sure.
This is Breck Jeffers. I wanted to give a quick comment on the VRU. Yeah, I think one of the things, I wasn't sure if Jay mentioned it, but the VRU assessment, this initial one is going to be the first one, but after the first one, it's anticipated that, you know, throughout the country and all states will roll the VRU assessment into the strategic highway, the SHSP, that it will, you know, be done on a periodic basis along with the SHSP updates.
That makes sense. Any other questions? Okay. We're going to move on to new business. So please make note of our upcoming meeting dates for 2023. The first one will be September 28th, and the last one for 2023 will be December 14th. Are both of those on Thursdays, Cindy?
Yes.
Okay.
Same bat time, same bat channel.
Okay. Does anybody else have any new business to discuss?
I did want to share something with everybody. I'm in here from out of BMC, and let me see if I can get rid of this taskbar at the top so I can get to the right page for you. Oh, I'm sorry. Casey, go ahead. Casey has raised her hand. She can share. She's been able to join us from the Urban Area Security Initiative. Sorry, go ahead, Casey.
Thank you. Sorry. Yeah, real quick. I'm Casey Thomas. I'm the Public Information Officer for the Anne Arundel County Office of Emergency Management. And I'm also the committee chair for the UASI PIO and outreach group. So I just wanted to pop on and let you guys know that 1, we exist, and 2, we're looking to include more public information officers, social media specialists, and other communications professionals into our group so that we can get a better understanding of the different things that you guys are working on and might need assistance with. So even if you are not the public information officer, communication specialist for your agency, you probably know who is. So I'm just trying to get the word out that we are looking to recruit more of them into our committee so that we can have a broader sense of everything going on in the region and how we can help. Right now, we're currently helping the evacuation committee for the UASI to develop messaging to go along with their planning efforts. So that is also an option for you guys if you're interested in utilizing us to help with any of your planning from the communication side. We're more than happy to put our skills to use. So I'll go ahead and drop my information in the chat and feel free to forward that along to the PIOs or communications professionals within your departments. We are looking again to expand it past emergency management and police and fire PIOs. We're looking to have Department of Public Works and risk management and libraries and schools. So if you know of anyone or think of anyone, please let me know. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Casey.
And that's great. Thank you, because a lot of the, if not, well, all of the local SHSPs in the region include coordinated messaging, be it social media or other means. So that sounds like a great opportunity. Thank you. What I was going to share, Debbie, real quick, if it's okay. Coming out of BMC, we are doing, it's that time again, we're doing our long range transportation plan. And we're going to update this every 4 years. And I just wanted, if people weren't already aware, to let you know, a lot of the almost all the information is available at publicinput.com/resilience2050. That's the name of our plan. I won't go into the details about the structure of a long range plan and short range and all of the fancy MPO things that we do. If you'd like to hear more, let me know. But I just wanted to share with everyone today on this public input page. Not only are there documents up there and ways for you to review the draft and the different chapters of the long range plan, there are also public meetings coming up. So there was a virtual meeting that was held yesterday online, and the recording of those presentations is also available on this webpage. But coming up over the next 2 weeks, we will be having public meetings in each of our 7 jurisdictions. So feel free to attend and join us and come out and say hi if you're not already planning to, or share this far and wide with everybody. These are all being held in the early evening hours to make them more accessible. They're also in inaccessible locations by transit and all other means to try to bring out as much of the public as we can to get feedback on this long range plan. But staff will be there from BMC, so we can talk about safety. We can talk about anything. So please feel free to come to those. And was there anything else in the chat? Because the only other thing I was going to share upon request was a safety video that the Highway Safety Office put together and graciously shared with us. It is a couple minutes long, but it's rather entertaining for those of you that may have seen it at the summit or may have not. Just something little to end on a fun note.
Ron, who's driving? Oh, it's okay. It's on cruise control. Who wants some chimichangas, huh? Best thing I ever did was install this deep fryer in the Bago.
Ron, why do you have this bag of bowling balls in this terrarium filled with scorpions?
It's a long, crazy story. Hey, Ron, cruise control just regulates speed. It doesn't steer. Come again? No!
I'm looking for a love maker. I ain't looking for no heartbreaker.
Hang on!
Ain't no fooling around with this. Ain't no fooling around with that. You've been playing this thing long enough to know just where it's at.
What are we gonna do?
Some people call me selfish because I want you to myself. But it better be a huge day in July. If I can't find someone else, I wanna see a change, baby. I wanna see a change right away. I wanna see a change in you, baby. Wanna see a change in you today.
This one gets intense.
Yeah, this girl is gonna make you pay.
Don't make me nervous! Just don't make me nervous!
If you don't, this girl is gonna make you pay.
It's going to be a bumpy ride.
I wanna see a change. ready to turn.
Our destination is on the right.
On the right, okay. Now what you know, 'cause they say you gotta reap what you sow. And you say you know that I'm for you when you had a choice of quite a few. Well, you just picked out what you wanted and it was me who said you liked. And I must admit you got good taste, so bring it alright. I wanna see a change, baby. Wanna see a change today. I wanna see a change, baby. Wanna see a change. Why am I going back? If you don't, this girl is gonna make you pay.
You have your seatbelt on? Are you asking me that now?
A big change, big you, baby. 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 I'm looking for love, can't use no hard break.
Well, I think I got the hang of it now. I'm okay.
Oh, wow. I just had the weirdest dream. You know you're driving, right? Nobody in it.
So there we go. That's what we had from the Maryland Highway Safety Office. And I think the moral of the first half of it, at least, is let's leave that driving and all of that to the professionals with all the special effects and everything from Hollywood instead of trying to recreate. And then the second half is a lot of the resources and things and programs coming out of the Highway Safety Office. If anybody saw anything of interest we haven't already talked about, let me know. Otherwise, I believe that's all we have for today, unless Bala or Regina or anyone has anything else from BMC. I will pass it back to Debbie.
Thank you. Cindy, I have one question. Will the links that were posted in the chat be available in the minutes?
Yes, and I will send out a follow-up email after the meeting, because the minutes typically don't come out until before the next one. So I'll send out a follow-up email with all of that information for everyone.
Perfect. Thank you.
Mhm.
So does anybody else have any other business to discuss? Okay, hearing none, we'll adjourn for today, and we'll see you again in September. Have a great summer, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks for joining.
Thank you.
It's 11:11, make a wish.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great summer.
Thanks, you